We open a new sequence during this Africa CEO Forum Web TV talking about resilience, making the better out of the poly crisis and resisting of geopolitical conflict. It is a great pleasure to receive our guest, Mr. Ahmed ABDELLATIF, CEO of CTC Group. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Eric. I'm very well, thank you, and very happy to be here and enjoying my first day at the ACF.
Here in Abidjan.
In Abidjan, of course. Lovely Abidjan.
Lovely Abidjan. Actually, let's jump directly to the context. The current political climate in Sudan presents both risk and potential business opportunity for private sector. How does the CTC Group continue to maintain its activities in the climate of political tension?
So thank you for the question, Eric. Sudan, as many other countries in Africa, is a country where there has been political instability for a long time. CTC Group has been in business since Sudan's independence, 1956, so almost 70 years, and has maintained its operations through every government that has been in Sudan, so whether it's short periods of democracy and longer periods of, dictatorship or military rule. And one very important cornerstone for us has always been to be, as a business, politically independent. So, as a large-sized corporate in Sudan, you obviously have to interact with the government because the government is who sets the policies and the rules and the regulations. But in the end, for us, it's always been important to be politically independent as an operator and to ensure that the continuity is there. And in that sense, we believe that it is very much possible to be a socially responsible, independent, but also profitable private sector player. So the route to business success measured by profitability or all other measures of success is not necessarily only, as many people outside Africa think about Africa, only through political patronage. And so maintaining independence, being socially responsible and independent can also, I believe, be a formula for success.
And what is the role of the private sector in the context of social and humanitarian instability?
So again, I think that's a good question, Eric, and very topical at the moment. Unfortunately, we are passing through a very difficult time in Sudan. Over the past 6 weeks, there has unfortunately been an outbreak of war in Sudan. And that might be the extreme of instability. And this has been very challenging and testing for the country as a whole, obviously. But even for us as business leaders, if you like, I think it is more incumbent on us now to understand that it's really important to balance the interests of all stakeholders, especially at such a time of, humanitarian and social need and unrest. So I think where our minds are at the moment is that the absolute priority is and must be safety and security of all people around you involved in the business or the wider community with whom you interact. So whether it is staff or all other stakeholders, you then have to also look at what, as a business, you can do to safeguard the well-being and the livelihoods of the direct staff for whom you have a direct responsibility, and again, the wider community with whom you engage. We have found, at this time, we are involved primarily in the agri sector in Sudan. And we have found that, it's really important, even at this very testing time, to realize that you do have a responsibility, to the wider farming community. Life doesn't stop. People will still have to eat. Farming cannot stop. And the farming season, the rains do not wait for anyone. They don't wait for war. They don't wait for anything else. And so despite it's really being very, very difficult operationally, and also, honestly, a very difficult time emotionally, to have your mind, focused on how do I do supply chain or logistics or business. But really, I think it is at this time that you need to be more aware and more conscious of your responsibility towards this wider community, because this is an important part, an important ingredient in ensuring that hopefully the country does overcome this difficult situation and then hopefully comes out at the other side stronger and better, in a position to hopefully start the rebuilding of Sudan. So you have to look at things, a bit differently, and really not get caught up in the very short term and immediate, but maybe have a slightly wider outlook, despite the difficulty of doing so at this time.
Yes, it's important to rebuilding the country. And talking about the CTC Group is an African success story, actually. From 50 strong family business to more than 1,500...
2,000.
2,000, sorry. Strong multinational. What are the ingredients of this expansion, and how can its model inspire other family businesses?
So I think I have personally been very lucky myself in my career to be present at the time of not only the growth of a business in terms of size and scale, but also to achieve this size and scale, I have lived through a period of really changing the business in terms of, if you like, structuring, professionalizing, corporatizing the business. That being said, a common misconception, like people still say to me many times, oh, but you're a family business, meaning family business cannot be a corporate or cannot have professional management. And I totally disagree with that. I think that family businesses have some unique advantages that might not be, advantages that might not be present in non-family business. For example, a longer-term outlook on the business. Maybe a greater degree of attachment to the business. If the business is carrying your name, you have that much more pride and attachment to the business. But a longer-term outlook and the ability to plan, for tens of years rather than just be pressurized about your next earnings report every quarter for your shareholders. Again, doesn't mean that family businesses do not focus on profitability and managing the business efficiently and effectively. So I have been present through this whole cycle of professionalizing the business, corporatizing it, bringing in professional management. This has been key to the growth of the business, but at the same time proudly retaining the family flavor and proudly remaining very much a family business. And again, I think, in these very challenging times in Sudan, the fact that we do have the professional setup and structure that enables us to manage and hopefully overcome these challenges, but at the same time, having the mindset that, we've been going 70 years, we definitely want to be going another 70 years, and so we do not look at really, the bottom lines now in this difficult situation. What should we do? Should we just shutting everything down, exiting this, that, or the other? No. We're looking at what can we do to really maximize the chance of overcoming this difficult situation and being there, hopefully, for the rebuild. So I think the key point, to summarize, is professionalizing the business, bringing in professional management, but at the same time retaining a family flavor. Two other very important points, governance. Very, very important. So how you bring in good corporate governance. This is also important for, succession planning and the long-term existence of the business. And the final point also really bringing in, ethics policies and corporate ethics to manage reputational risk. This is very important, especially when your business is growing and you have many more people who are involved in an environment or in an area where, business ethics and transparency and issues like corruption might be quite endemic. Also, having a strong focus on that, I think, is very important to grow your business in a way that will make it sustainable.
So the key and point you share with us, and how can we prepare the next generation with or through your experience? Because we need to prepare the next generation to lead and to manage important businesses. So how can we do that efficiently?
So I think, again, in the context, if your question is in the context of family business, so get them involved in the business at an earlier stage so that they have a flavor of it. I think in today's age, it's hard to, you can try to influence, but it's really hard to
force.
if you have the next generation want to be artists or doctors or whatever they want to be, I think that's what they're going to be. And it's the right thing to really let them explore what they want to be.
For them, okay.
But at least allow them the chance to explore and to have a flavor of the business. But more importantly, to prepare, generations for the business, I think, is to get this right balance between professional management and between the family flavor. So even if the next generation from the family are not actively involved in day-to-day business management, so they're not part of the executive, I expect they will be part of the ownership. And so that is also a responsibility that they need to be prepared for and trained for, how to be responsible owners, how to, these things that we just talked about, have an understanding of that responsibility, that comes with being owners of maybe whether it's a small or a large business, but the responsibilities of ownership, at least, you need to bring up the next generation, expose them, and make them aware of these responsibilities.
Nice. To conclude, quick question for you. We talk about the situation in Sudan, but what was important for you to attend to the Africa CEO Forum?
So again, great question, Eric. I attended the first time last year. I really enjoyed it. For me, we are, in East Africa. We have a lot of contacts there, but this really exposed me in a much wider way to all of Africa, West Africa, but all of Africa generally. So made a lot of very, very interesting, very useful contacts, shared a lot of, to me, very eye-opening and interesting experiences from people all over the continent, and I think, you learn a lot from that. This year, I had already planned to come last year. Again, with the situation in Sudan, it was, is this really
challenging?
Is my mind in the right? But honestly, at the end, I thought, in fact, this is even more reason to come. You will meet people here, who are influential on the continent, who might be in a position, to offer advice or to even be involved in offering help and support going forward. People from the international financial community or people from different organizations, etc. So it actually made me even more, in the end, interested to make sure that I am here, that I am present, and to interact. And the first day is almost over today, and it has not disappointed at all. It's been very, very interesting and very fruitful. So very happy to be
Perfect.
here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed ABDELLATIF. You are the CEO of CTC Group. Thank you to be here, and we have a great thought for Sudan for sure. And our heart is over there too. So thanks
Thank you, Eric.
to be there, and we go back to the panel. And the next panel is geopolitics and food security. It'll be an interesting one. So we have to jump to this panel. Merci beaucoup. On se retrouve tout à l'heure. Merci.